What's up, family? It's Jay Jones, host of Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the podcast, and I just want to share a great opportunity with you. If your business is struggling, you're not able to generate the revenues and profits that you really want to generate, then I invite you to join me in my 3X Mastermind group. So you can go to 3xmastermind.com. That's the number 3, the letter X, mastermind.com. And this is an accelerated mastermind group that's going to give you a blueprint to triple your revenues in 2023. No smoke and mirrors, no BS, but tried and true strategies to triple your revenues. Now, in this mastermind group, it's limited seating. So go to 3xmastermind.com to learn more. If you're interested, the dates for the sessions are November 30th, December 7th, and December 14th from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is only an investment of $97 total for all 3 sessions. And the greatest benefit is when you come out of that mastermind, you're going to have a customized blueprint on how to triple your revenues in 2023. So if you're not happy with where your business is and you want to increase your revenues and profits, go to 3xmastermind.com to learn more. We have limited seating, which is almost up. So if you are interested, please act now. See you at 3xmastermind.com. Welcome to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the #1 podcast and resource for Black entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful, sustainable businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. If you're currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you're invited to join us each and every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family and get ready to elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 439. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today's show topic is, if you're not failing, you're not trying. If you're not failing, you're not trying. So as entrepreneurs, we should know, hopefully you know, that failure is part of the process. And on today's show, I'm going to discuss how to embrace failure and how to use failure to help propel you to success. Now, before we get to today's show, I just want to share a few things with the BEB family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family. Please stick around until the end of today's broadcast, and I'm going to share all my social media contact information and resource links, such as the link to my latest book, A New Black Wall Street, Circulating the Black Dollar Worldwide by Building Successful E-Commerce Businesses. Also, 2 platforms I've created to help circulate dollars in the worldwide Black community, BeSmartByBlack.com and HireBlackFreelancers.com, which we're currently updating right now. So when you go to one of the sites and you want to be a part of the site, just put in your name and email. And when we get this new platform up, we will definitely alert you via email. Also, don't forget, guys, the 3xmastermind.com. If you're interested in tripling your revenues, go to 3xmastermind.com. That's the number 3, the letter X, mastermind.com. Also, don't forget, guys, if you want to get the show notes, make sure you sign up for the newsletter. The show notes are in the newsletter that drops every Monday and Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in the car driving, if you're working out, lifting weights or whatever, and you can't write down any of the show notes, just go to the homepage, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, any page actually.com. And on the bottom, you'll see join us or subscribe to the newsletter. And that's on the bottom of every page of the website. So make sure you go to blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. Now, let's get ready for today's show topic. If you're not failing, you're not trying. So we're taught from birth that failure is negative. Now, that thought process is usually followed by civilians. And when I say civilians, I mean people that are not entrepreneurs. No disrespect to that, but everybody's not built to be an entrepreneur. So, but smart entrepreneurs know that the failure is part of the process of becoming a successful entrepreneur. And today we're going to explore failure as it pertains to entrepreneurship. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to deal with it and how to navigate that. So for any of you listeners who haven't listened to the podcast for a long period of time, and you don't know my backstory is filled with failure. And that failure was a springboard to success. So I'm going to give you the abridged version if you've never heard it before. So I've owned 17 businesses since I left corporate America. I did the normal thing, went to college, graduated, went to corporate America. I was a stockbroker for Merrill Lynch and Dean Witter for over 6 years. I worked at Gannett as an advertising executive. So I did all of that stuff that most people do. And what was crazy was I always knew that I wanted to start my own business, and I've always had side hustles even since I was 7 years old, selling potato chips and Kool-Aid in the summertime on the streets in Philly where I grew up. So I always had some type of side hustles. But one of the things that I noticed was different about myself was that I wasn't scared to take an L. I wasn't scared to fail. And so that suited me well, and I'm built to be an entrepreneur. So this failure or the fear of failure never really came into play with me because I understood, hey, I'm going to make mistakes, but as long as I learn from my mistakes, I'm going to be okay. So fast forward to after I left corporate America, I started my first business. That went okay. My partner and I started the business. He got married and I got married. We had kids. The business wasn't throwing off enough money. We had to go and do something else. Subsequent to that, I started another business, which was actually creating and promoting trade shows and baby shows, expos, career fairs, and all that good stuff. And what had happened was I had just left corporate America. And literally the day that I left corporate America, I found out that my son, who was actually at the time he was 11 months old, he was diagnosed with brain cancer. And so my wife had to stop working. She was a teacher at the time. She had the full-time income. She carried the benefits and all that good stuff because I literally had just left the advertising position. And I had my first show scheduled, which was a baby and children's expo that I got Babies R Us to sponsor. So I had sponsorship money. I had used some of the money to pay for the venue and other things to run the show. Now, dealing with my son's illness, he began to get sicker after surgery, and we lost him at 17 months old. But prior to him transitioning, I was able to pull off the first show. It was very successful. But after that first show, I wasn't in a good mental space. So I'm worrying about my son. He's fighting for his life. The bills are getting behind. I just wasn't able to pull off another show because I mentally wasn't there. And because my wife wasn't working and we had Cobra to pay, this is the first time that we almost lost everything. So that was one of my biggest failures. Now, I was blessed to be able to come back and build another business and other businesses that were successful. The second time I almost lost it all was when I owned a mortgage company, and the crash of 2008, 2009 pretty much wiped me out. 50 plus employees, multi-million-dollar business, Center City, Philadelphia, rolling like crazy. Then the financial crisis hits and pretty much everything falls off the wall. And almost went down again for the second time. So I know failure very intimately. Okay, almost lost it all twice, but have been blessed to be able to come back each time and be able to build multi-million-dollar businesses. So when I say if you're not failing, you're not trying, trust me, been there, done that. Now, out of the 17 businesses that I started, 5 were probably abject failures. 5 were probably so-so businesses. I probably had another 3 businesses that were real good, 3 to 4 businesses that were real good, and 3 to 4 additional businesses that were super good. And two out of those were multi-million-dollar businesses. One of them is what I'm running now. My current businesses, my e-commerce business. I have physical and digital products brands. obviously the podcast and the ecosystem around that. And I have some other business interests. So I was blessed to be able to overcome those failures and be able to become successful. But the failures taught me more than the actual wins. A lot of times when you win, you get complacent. And a real life example of that is when I had the mortgage business. So as we were rolling, I had two partners in the mortgage business. And we started, my first partner and I, we started that business over it was an Indian delicatessen. So it used to smell like all kinds of different spices and stuff like that. And it was myself, my partner, two telephones, and a thermal fax machine. And we built that business basically from that to 50 plus employees, multi-million dollar business per year, crazy income and revenues, in Hip Pocket National, being able to take home large sums of money. So it was a good time. But once again, good times don't always last. But I got complacent because I told my partners, I'm like, yo, we need to branch out and do something else. And we talked about buying a couple of Remax franchises. That really wouldn't have helped because it was still in the real estate market. So when the crash happened, even though, we couldn't do mortgages and really not a lot of people were buying homes. But we should have branched out and done something else. But we got so comfortable with the money that we were making, we didn't understand or didn't think that something else could happen. But that's why you want to diversify, and we always talk about multiple streams of income. So what we're going to talk about today, guys, if you're not failing, you're not trying. But I just wanted to give you an example and let you guys know that, hey, failure is very intimate with me. I failed many a time, but I recognized and understood that was part of the process. Now, as we start into this additional content, I want to give you two foundational principles that you need to understand first. Understand these two foundational principles, and it's going to help you navigate failure. Number one, learn to embrace the process of becoming a successful entrepreneur. Embrace the process. So if you embrace the process of becoming a successful entrepreneur, everything else will fall into place. Okay? And here's an example of that. So with my daughters, when they were in high school, field hockey was like probably their best sport, both of them. And one of the things that I always used to talk about was training. And so if you want to be the best, you have to put in the work. And so I said, stop worrying about the end result, but focus and learn to enjoy and embrace the process. So that embracing the process means getting up, making sure that you embrace going to the track every morning, running your 3 miles in certain record time. It means going and working on your skills while somebody else is out there playing games. It means going and taking the ball in the backyard, dribbling around the backyard, shooting into the goal. I said, if you embrace the process of being great, you will be great. Don't worry about the outcome. When you do the steps that it takes to be great, you will become great, or you have the opportunity to become great. So foundational principle number one, learn how to embrace the process of becoming a successful entrepreneur. And that entails always learning, always trying to find more, connecting yourself with mentors or groups or people that have done what you're trying to do. It means studying. It means putting down the phone and not being on the phone or playing video games for 5 hours a day. Okay, embrace the process of becoming a successful entrepreneur. That's foundational principle number one. Foundational principle number two, and this is very important, guys. There are levels of failure. There are levels to this thing. So each failure does not have to be catastrophic. Okay, so when I say, if you're not failing, you're not trying, failure does not have to be catastrophic. So when people think about failure, they think about losing it all, going bankrupt, and all the stuff that I was talking about, me almost losing it all, house, cars, everything for those 2 times. But everything doesn't have to be catastrophic when it concerns failure. Understand that there are levels to failure. Okay, so it's funny. in regards to the levels of failure, I used to talk about creating what's called, and I've done it before, a collapsible business, meaning that I'm able to fold this business up if it doesn't work, and it's not going to cost me a lot of time, energy, or resources. And here's one collapsible business that I started knowing that, okay, if this doesn't work, this is the maximum I'm going to lose. So I started a telemarketing room one time. This is years ago. And I said, okay, I'm not going to invest a lot of money. I already had the computers and the phones and all of that stuff from other businesses. But I went to a small office space that I could rent month to month. So I had no long-term 3-year lease like a lot of these offices want you to have. So I had a month-to-month lease. I paid 2 months in advance. Well, first month security and then the first month. Then what I did is I hired telemarketers on commission, and I was selling different products or services. And I said, okay, I'm going to run this for 3 months. If I don't make money, I'm shutting it down. And unfortunately, I didn't make any money. I was making some money, but I wasn't profitable. But the business was collapsible. It was a failure. But I think literally it cost me $1,500 a month for the office. I think I was paying maybe $500 or $700 in telecommunications, internet and phone and all that. So I probably lost about, just say $2,500 a month for 3 months. I lost $7,500. But I did make some revenue, but not enough really to cover that. So all in all, I probably lost about $3,000 in 3 months. So that is not a catastrophic failure. And that's what I want you guys to understand. These are the two foundational principles you need to understand first. Number one, learn how to embrace the process of becoming a successful entrepreneur. And number two, there are levels of failure. Each failure is not catastrophic. Now, let me give you a few tips on how to manage with failure and deal with failure. And these are things that I've learned throughout the years of my failures. Okay, so one thing before we get to this, guys, I want you to understand that failure is part of the process, but not everybody understands that. So you're going to need to have some critical conversations with your loved ones and people that are close to you if your failures are going to affect them. But we'll talk about that a little later. So here's some tips and insights about how to deal with failure as an entrepreneur. So first tip, know that failure will happen because it's part of the process. Okay, I mentioned that to you guys before. It is part of the process. It's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen and how many times it's going to happen. So knowing is half the battle, right? Remember, expectations make or break any relationship. And so even your expectations. So expect this to happen. So when expectations aren't met, that's when there's an issue or a problem. And it doesn't matter if it's in a personal relationship with your wife, your spouse, your partner, or whatever, or if it's a business relationship. If expectations aren't met, even by yourself, there's going to be a problem. So know that failure will happen because it's part of the process. Expect that. Another tip is understand that all failure isn't catastrophic. We talked about that. It could be something as simple as nobody buying one of your new products. So I have a coaching students that he's selling these minimalist wallets, and there's a ton of these out there on the market. And so he's like, yeah, I'm doing this, that, and the other thing. I'm getting it customized. And I said, okay. I said, how many are you starting off with? And he said, I'm starting off with 100. Cool. And I said, that's a good number to start with. You can give some away for samples and promo and all of that good stuff. I said, what's your cost on the wallets? And he said, it's $8. So he has $800 into this business in addition to a website and whatever marketing he's doing on social media. Okay. So he's not selling the wallets. Okay. I think personally, I told him, I think you priced them a little too high. And but he hasn't budged on that. But here's the thing. That's not a catastrophic failure. He spent $800 and he's not selling the wallets. Guess what? You can still live to fight another day, right? So you got to understand every failure isn't catastrophic. And here's a tip. Well, if you're selling physical products, the worst thing that can happen is you can liquidate those wallets. Okay. So instead of trying to sell them for whatever you're selling them for, if you bought them for $8 a piece, If you can liquidate them for $10 a piece, you made your money back, right? If you liquidate them from $8 a piece, then you're breaking even. So when you have a physical product, the worst case scenario is that you can liquidate it. You don't want to leave them in your garage or whatever, like my buddy with the 5,000 razor blades, but you will be able to liquidate it. So remember, understand that all failure isn't catastrophic. Another tip, understand that you may have to try several different business ideas before you hit one. So a lot of times, since we're programmed not to fail, we come out of the box, we have our first business idea, we don't know what the heck we're doing because we have no experience, and guess what? To your surprise and everybody else's, it fails. You know what? The chances are your first business is probably going to fail, more so than the chances of it being successful. So understand that you may have to try several different things before you hit the right one. Now, I was listening to a podcast the other day. It was a mortgage broker, and this guy was talking about how his family, all of his family are doctors. His parents are doctors, his two brothers are doctors, and his sister is a doctor. And he went to medical school, but he didn't like it. But because everybody else in his family made a lot of money, he felt the pressure that he needed to go and find some type of business that he could become wealthy in. So he tried, the first thing he said he tried was he tried to start a security company. Since he used to go to clubs all the time, he got into knowing a lot of club owners, and he created a security company where they would go and they would provide bouncers to all these clubs. He said it worked for a while, then it died down. He had, I forgot, about 3 or 4 different opportunities or businesses that he started, and all of them failed. He said he was up to $600,000 in debt with his businesses, $600,000 in credit card debt. So he had I'm sorry, not credit card debt, $600,000 overall debt. I think it was like $100,000 in credit card debt. And so he was trying to go to the bank, taking cash advances, try to keep all these businesses running. And finally, he got to the point where he was about to file bankruptcy, but he didn't. So what he did was he went and got a job at a mortgage company, and he learned that business, and he started making a little bit of money. Subsequent to learning the business, then he went and opened up his own mortgage brokerage company, and he started making, now he's doing 7 figures. His company, he's bringing in 7 figures himself personally, he said, and now he's looking to go to 8 figures for the business and eventually for himself. But the moral of the story is, guys, that understand that you may have to try several different things before you hit one. And so when you're out there as an entrepreneur and your loved ones, your parents, brothers, sister, spouse, partner, wife, husband, whatever, they see you trying different things, their thought is, well, this guy doesn't know what he wants to do. He's jumping from this to this to this to this, trying to find something that catches on. And you know what? A lot of times that's true. So for me as an entrepreneur, I'm not in love with any particular type of business. I enjoy the business of trying to build a business. So it could be condoms when I had my condom business. It could be a mortgage company. It could be my marketing company. It could be my physical product brands. I don't care about really what it is. Now, some things I do like more than others, but I just enjoy the challenge of trying to build a business. So if you have multiple businesses in different verticals, there's nothing wrong with that. So the civilians may see that, or they may think that there's something wrong. Yo, why is Jay jumping around, man? He had a condom business, he had a cookie business, he had a mortgage company, he had a marketing company, he had this, he got physical products brands. Man, what's this cat doing? I'm making money and I'm learning how to be an entrepreneur. So understand, guys, that you may have to try several different business ideas before you hit one. And the beauty is, once you hit one, now if you're making money, you can use that money to fund expansion or fund other businesses. And so that's how a lot of people become moguls, quote unquote. So they get successful in one venture, and then they take the money that they're generating and they go into different ventures. And what we're talking about today, guys, if you're not failing, you're not trying. And I'm just trying to give you some tips on how to navigate failure as an entrepreneur and help you turn that failure into success. Next tip, examine why you failed and learn from those mistakes and don't make them again. All right. So learn from your mistakes. Try not to make them again. So the more you do something, right, the more you learn. And I don't play video games. I'm not into that. But when I did play video games as a kid, you're trying to get to the next level, right? So as you go and you continue to fail, you get killed or whatever, you learn, all right, I can't do this again because this is what's going to happen. Same thing with being an entrepreneur. Examine why you failed, learn from your mistakes, and don't make them again. And this builds your entrepreneur IQ. The only way you can build your IQ, guys, is by doing, right? You can read stuff and all of that great stuff, look at things, read things, but until you go out and do, then you're not really going to learn. It's just like lifting weights, right? So in order to benefit from lifting weights, you need the resistance. That builds the muscle. So lifting those weights is resistance. Failure is the resistance. That failure builds your entrepreneur muscles. So understand it is part of the process. And a lot of people, the civilians, don't understand that. But when you fail, you're building your entrepreneur muscles. You're elevating your entrepreneur IQ. And like I said, the key to this is don't make the same mistake twice. Okay. Now, another tip is if done correctly, your failures will lead you to success. So listen to what your failures tell you. OK, now you could be in a business and the business fails, but the reason it failed is maybe because you didn't do one thing that you should have done, and that caused the whole business to fail. So you have to kind of listen to what your failures tell you. What messages did the failure give you, and what new opportunities were uncovered by your failures? So sometimes when we get into businesses that aren't successful, there are things that we don't do or don't see that could literally make this business successful. And here's an example I've given on the show before. I can't even remember, probably about 2 years ago. So we had a young lady that was in one of our programs and coaching programs, and she was in the seamstress industry. And so what she wanted to do was to create, and she did seamstress stuff like on the commercial side, like sewing pillows, couches, and working for some of the major retail brands that you would see in the mall, Sonoma and all that stuff. So she had a lot of experience in commercial sewing with all types of fabrics. And so she was saying that she wanted to start selling pillows with sayings on them and all types of things of that nature. And she was telling me about, the fabrics and all of that. And she said, hold on, let me show you these fabrics. So she pans the camera to a room, and it was a room full of fabric. And she was saying, yeah, these fabrics are hard to get, but I'm able to get them at, I can't remember, but a low cost per square foot versus somebody that will buy it for $30 a square foot in a retail store. And she said, because I'm in the industry, I have access to this. And I said, your business shouldn't be selling pillows with slogans on it. Your business should be selling the fabric. Because if you're getting it for $5 a square foot and people are used to paying $30 a square foot, you can mark that up 3 or 4 times or whatever. And now that's your true business. So even though the pillow business was failing, there was an opportunity there to be able to take what she was doing and turn it into a profitable business. So your failures a lot of times will lead you to success. And I always tell you, listen to what your failure tells you and what message did the failure give you? What new opportunities were uncovered by your failures? And it's funny, and I talked about 3X Mastermind, and that's one of the things that a mastermind group does. You have that synergy, and you also have multiple brain power, multiple brains working on solving problems. So the things that you may miss or take for granted, other people, when they have fresh eyes on it, that can be an opportunity. So don't forget, if you're interested, go to 3xmastermind.com to learn more. And what we're talking about today, guys, if you're not failing, you're not trying. And I'm trying to give you some tips to navigate failure. Next tip, set realistic expectations for yourself and others. So let your spouse, partner, and loved ones know what's going to go on I'm probably going to fail. There will be failures and setbacks during this process, and let them know that not just that they're going to be failures and setbacks, but what does that mean in terms of your income and lifestyle? So I talked about expectations, right? And I wish I knew this before I started my first business, my first real business after I was married. When I was single, I could eat peanut butter and jelly and I'm good. But once I got married, there were different expectations. And so if you're going to leave your job or corporate America or whatever, and that's going to affect your income and possibly your lifestyle, these are the conversations that you're going to need to have. Hey, we may not be able to go out to dinner as often. We may not be able to have our savings account up to the level that it is. I'm not going to be bringing in money for 6 months, 12 months, or whatever it is. So set realistic expectations for yourself about your business, about your income, and for others. And the last tip I want to give you guys as it pertains to failure is fail fast. I know you've heard that before, but failing faster moves you closer to success than failing slowly. So sometimes we hang on to a business because we're in love with it. It's like a baby. We created it and we don't want to give up on it. But sometimes, family, you got to see the signs. If it's bleeding you dry to the point that you're not going to be able to maintain or make it, especially if it's a new business. In respect to my mortgage business, I was making tons of money for years. Then it went off the cliff. That's why I tried to save it or salvage it. But if I started hemorrhaging money right off the bat and I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel, it's time to cut bait. So it's better to fail fast. And I'm not saying quit when you have some adversity, but be realistic about what your business is and the longevity or the possibility of success with that business. Okay. So you want to fail fast. So these are some tips, guys. If you're not failing, you're not trying. And remember, the two foundational principles you need to understand first when it comes to failure as an entrepreneur is, number one, learn how to embrace the process of becoming a successful entrepreneur, doing all the things necessary to be successful. Don't worry about the end result, worry about the process and embrace that. And the second foundational principle is there are levels to failure, and each failure does not have to be catastrophic. So I gave you the example of my collapsible business. Okay. So these are the foundational principles of failure. Remember, failure is a good thing for entrepreneurs as long as you learn from it and are able to move on and it's not catastrophic. But even if it is catastrophic, even in the case of me, when I almost lost it all twice, I was blessed to be able to come back because I took all of those L's and took those losses and failures, and I was able to galvanize and elevate my entrepreneur IQ. I built my entrepreneur muscles. And the only way you build entrepreneur muscles is through resistance, just like lifting weights. So before we close it on out, family, let me share my social media contact information and my resource links. I mentioned at the top of the show, A New Black Wall Street. My latest book is out. Be Smart, Buy Black, Hire Black Freelancers. Also, BEB Academy. I forgot to mention that. BEB Academy is an online learning portal that has all types of resources to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. We have online courses, master classes, individual courses, and PDF downloads and resources. And you can get 3 days free access to everything in the academy by going to bebacademy.com. Now, everything I'm telling you guys, go to the website blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. We spent a lot of time building the site out, and we want that to be the resource for Black entrepreneurs. So everything I'm telling you, go to the website blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. If you want to take the shortcut, you can type in bebconnect.com. It's going to take you to the same place. So all of the resources, online courses, master classes, BEB Academy, Pinpoint Monetize Your Genius are on the website, and go and check that out. Also, the resources, if you need resources about marketing, scaling your business, mindset, anything like that, go to the website, hit the Learn tab, and everything you need to learn to help grow your business is there. Now, in terms of connecting with me, the easiest thing to do, once again, is go to the website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, hit the About button, and under my bio, I have all my links, but I'm going to give them to you real quick. Anything long, family, hit me on my email, jjones@blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, JAYJONES@blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, Twitter, jjones001, JAYJONES001. Instagram, I have 2 IG accounts. The first one is jjones for real, JAYJONES, the number 4, REAL. Second one is Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. YouTube, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. I have additional content on YouTube that is not on the podcast. Go to YouTube, type in blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. LinkedIn, make sure you connect with me, J Jones, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Clubhouse, connect with me at I am J Jones. Everything is on the website also. And make sure you utilize blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. As I mentioned, we want that to be the resource for Black entrepreneurs. Everything that you need to help grow your business is on the website. Now, I say this each and every week because I mean it and it's true. We couldn't do this without you, the BEB family, man. I'm so appreciative of everything that you guys have done for us, and you've been rocking with me for all of these years. So I truly appreciate it. We get more and more downloads because of you. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast, the blog, the new blackentrepreneurblueprint.com website, the ecosystem, the online courses, the books, everything we're trying to do to elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Remember, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about building an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.